here in the summer split, though they did find a split in week number 1. Let's get right into it. Picks and bans up against Astral Authority, up against Starboys.
And like I said, I've really been looking forward to this because Astral Authority, you kind of just expect them to always perform and be dominant whenever they do come out to play. But
sure.
Starboys, they always have that little surprise factor that could come into play.
That's true. They've got some playmakers on that roster. Cameron, the Hunter, obviously the one that comes to mind, but the support player there, that duo lane, really tends to stand out for me. Daily Dale in that support role for Starboys, someone to keep an eye on as the bans start to come through. Zeus for Astral Authority, that's going to be paired with the Khepri, looking at Daily Dale. And then Starboys, they're looking at Chaotic Purpose, and that's really the guy that most teams seem to look at when it comes to Astral Authority, is their jungler.
Reasonably so, though, because Chaotic Purpose is a pretty potent threat, especially if he gets a Susano selection. It's so easy to get a lot of jungle setup for your mid laner and just have so much map pressure and jungle control, so it's easy to just try and neutralize a player as talented as Chaotic as soon as possible.
Well, Astral Authority, they're going to first pick that Chang'e, but that is a flex pick. On the PC side of things, usually it's going straight to the jungle, but here on console, there are some mid laners. You saw Shaliber in the last game pilot that Chang'e to very moderate success, but Covey as well has this god in his god pool, so keep an eye on where that draft is going to go for Astral Authority. As Starboys, they look for Sun Wukong and Robin, the double warrior, neither of which being Osiris or Bellona, which were both left open.
Osiris and Bellona are certainly still on the table. The question is whether or not Astral Authority will opt to go into one of those. And I'd imagine against, it's probably going to be Sun Wukong in the solo lane for Starboys and Robin jungle, just because that seems to be a favorable pick, is throwing Robin into that jungle lane. So I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see Astral opt for the Bellona or Osiris. Both of them would be strong selections against what Starboys has already opted for.
No surprise to see the Nemesis for Chaotic Purpose. He'll play this into basically any composition, but when you lock in 2 warriors to start it off, that's an easy pick there. We saw Reminisce basically carry the game for Shortly Business with that Nemesis again in their last set, so no real surprise. And it's going to be Terra for Starboys, so no Sun Wukong support this time around like Kenshin was playing. It is going to be that very tanky 3 frontline comp for Starboys.
And it's interesting that they're opting already to just throw in all of their frontline as their top 3 selections. Typically, you want to leave at least one of them for the second, after the second picks and ban stage, just to have a little bit of that counter pick option. But instead, they're letting Astral Authority know what they're trying to pack a punch with for the front.
Without a doubt, Odin and Cupid, the bans for Starboys, 2 picks that Astral Authority really like to go to. Odin in particular in that solo lane for Wolves. Astral Authority going a bit of a different route. The Medusa and then the Hades. Hades would do pretty well up against this Ymir and Chang'e. And I like the Ymir pairing with the Chang'e Nemesis because that's the real weakness of that 2v2 in mid, is that Chang'e nor Nemesis have a ton of CC in their kit, but Ymir can really cover that weakness pretty well.
Astral Authority also still have the option for their Hunter player, and it's pretty hard to say just what exactly they're going to opt for. And considering that Starboys are looking at the Honor, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a Rom or even a Hu Yi selection. Yeah,
Hu Yi, definitely one of Transonic's favorites. Rom is as well. I mean, Transonics will play basically the entire cast, so you never know exactly what he's going to be pulling out, but that's going to be Ymir in the solo lane most likely, though it could be Wolves playing the Athena in the solo. Can really play it all, just like Transonics. It's difficult to pick and ban up against Astral Authority because they've got so many different styles that they can go to.
And there's already so much CC on the side of Astral Authority. You're going to have the Athena taunts, the Ymir freezes, Nemesis ultimate on top of all of that, and then the Chang'e just for just the last-ditch effort if you missed anything else. And with the Hu Yi being the final selection for Astral Authority, that's a lot of AoE, a lot of space control, and like I said, the CC's there.
My only worry, though, Taco, is that it's, you know, you get all excited about it. You're like, okay, it's Athena taunt into Nemesis ult into Chang'e 1. Like that's all your damage. Like there's no burst off of the Nemesis ult, and while Nemesis ult can kind of create burst for you, I still would like something in that mid lane for Astral Authority to pack a little bit more punch.
It would be nice to have a little bit more burst possibility for Astral Authority, but I think that they can probably get away with it just because of how frequently they're going to be able to potentially burning actives considering the Athena and Ymir.
That's true. Ready to go into game number 1. And remember, it's actually going to be Clow in the mid lane for Starboys this time around. So last week, didn't see him, was on the bench basically, and has now found a team. So Clow returning to the SCL. I mean, this is a guy who's been around for a long time, Taco. Definitely a veteran presence. for this young squad.
And Clow might have the veteran presence, but it's really just going to come down to how much do Starboys really see Clow as that veteran leadership possibility, because Clow's pretty notorious for kind of just being Clow, and he hasn't been having the most success with the teams that he's been playing for recently, and now joining alongside of Starboys, I think that this could be a solid chance for him to really prove himself that he's still ready to perform.
I mean, plenty of potential on this roster for Starboys. Like I mentioned, I've been like really impressed overall with Daily Dale in that support role. Cameron is hot and cold still, but when he's on, can be one of the better hunters in North America. So there's plenty to work with here for Clow in the mid lane, but it's always hot and cold is kind of the story of any team that Clow is on. They're either going really, really well or struggling a little bit. So it's up to Starboys to determine exactly what they're going to be doing in this set up against the defending champions of the spring split, Astral Authority. And immediately Astral's invading on that right-hand side. Dr. Flick has been left alone on that solo lane and has lost his blue buff and his speed.
And I don't think that it's going to be as much of an issue for Astral Authority, especially when you consider the fact that they are somebody who hasn't had a whole lot of issues with the hot and cold aspects, such as what Starboys experience. They are pretty much always on point whenever they come to perform, and I think that that's a strong ability for the entire roster to share.
That was definitely one of the question marks about this roster. No one was questioning the amount of talent on Astral Authority. I mean, you look down the list and that's just a bunch of really, really strong mechanical players, but it was about the egos, number one, and number two, how they'd perform under pressure, and I think they silenced a lot of those critics with their performance here at the LAN, really dominating everybody they went up against. It was elevating the finals, and they were able to take that one pretty handily. In the mid lane, Brochacho dashing forward, looking for a taunt, gonna find Joey Donuts. Plenty of damage onto him, and he didn't have the overhead kick. Chaotic Purpose with the first blood, but it's set up by the support, El Brochacho.
And again, Chacho just makes these plays happen all the time. He loves those rotations, and with a Guardian like Athena, he can choose to be aggressive or just that defensive peel that his team requires.
Looking for another setup here, leveling that taunt already, not worried about that shield wall damage. Instead, more worried about the CC that he can provide for his team. This 3v3 grouping in the mid lane. This is what my guys like to do. They want to fight you in the 3v3. It's a very strong core that they have.
One concern, too, that Starboys now need to keep in mind is since Joey Donut fell so early on, he's probably not going to be hitting level 5 around the same time as the rest of his teammates. So follow-up possibilities, and I can imagine that the aggression from my guys is going to be there, especially in the mid lane. You can expect Brochacho to try and go in, find anybody, most likely him, off guard again to look for the kill. And without his ultimate available, he could be in a lot of danger.
You could certainly count on my guys playing aggressive at any given time. Chaotic Purpose could have had a chance for a gank on this left-hand side, but Transonics is getting slightly outpushed in this matchup. You said you wanted to see the Hu Yi into the Anhur. Is that a favorable matchup for Transonics here?
It's not necessarily a favorable matchup, but it's a hunter that can easily go toe-to-toe with the Anhur, because Anhur can block your one. He can easily block your lane clear with the pillar. Whether or not the hunter is going to choose to do so is an entirely different story, but Cameron can look for a favorable matchup, but Hu Yi can also catch an Anhur out pretty easily.
And they're gonna, these guys are gonna be fighting pretty consistently in this lane. Both Transonics and Cameron known basically for their willingness to fight in lane and in the team fights. As you mentioned, likely that Joey Donuts is gonna be a little bit behind in terms of levels, and he's just now hitting level 5. Chaotic Purpose probably gonna be hitting level 6 fairly soon here on this right-hand side. Dr. Flick backs to base at the wrong time. All the buffs have respawned on this right-hand side, but Clow is here and ready to assist. Speed buff does go the way of Starboys. And even with a teleport from Dr. Flick in, the rest of Astral Authority get the blue buff, but Wolves is the focus. Good Vulcan ultimate out of Clow. That Athena ult being channeled, and Wolves gonna put some decent damage out. It allows Brochacho to get in. Covey with a big ultimate as well. Joey Donuts now on the run, is gonna escape under the safety of his tower. Covey's actually gonna clean him up and immune the tower shot. Covey's dead.
It was so close to surviving. It's just that one little tick. He gets away with the style kill, escapes the tower shot, and then the Sun Wukong one's just like, hey, I'm still here. So that's kind of unfortunate when you think about it, but I would still say, considering how that inbay was looking with only 2 members initially for my guys in the presence of 4 people from Starboys, I would definitely say that went 100% in their favor.
And Covey gets a couple kills and assists, and Chang'e needs those kills and assists to get a little bit closer to that late game. We saw how potent that could be in that last matches. Gold Fury is the call here. This is what you get when you've got Clow on your roster, always willing to try and get an early objective, and it looks like it's going to work out for Starboys. No one from Astral Authority even close. Transonics needs to keep track of where the hunter is. That anytime a Gold Fury gets stuck like that, when you're the hunter sitting there in lane, that's got to be on your head, right, Taco?
It's pretty much almost entirely on his head, and then on top of that, you know that a Vulcan's on the enemy team, so you can almost always expect that he's going to be looking for that early Gold Fury call, because it's so easy for the turret to just not only tank the objective, but just shred it.
And that's exactly what we saw there. Starboys with that early Gold Fury. They're down 3-2 in kills to Astral Authority, but up slightly in gold, about 200. Not really anything to get too excited about. On the top there, just for the record, it does say My Guys. That is the old name of Astral Authority, still the clan tag that they rock in game, so that's why it's up there on the top, is on the top side. Now the taunt onto Daily Dale, Nemesis ult as well. Terra, we'll see you later. Chaotic Purpose already off to a killing spree in this one, only 6 minutes in. Now Covey gonna eat a decent amount of damage from that backfire meatball combination out of Clow. Those heals gonna keep him safe for the time being. As a clean pick, it goes My Guy's way.
That was almost a very dangerous situation for Covey. Luckily, he had Brochacho and the rest of his team to follow up and ensure that he was safe. But same story cannot be said for Daily Dale. And that's honestly a member of Star Wars that I am not accustomed to seeing getting picked out.
And that's what Terra kind of happened to Terra, is that she can get caught out in the jungle fairly easily, especially with a composition like Astral Authority is drafted. And that's something that Daily Dale has to keep on his mind.
And Daily Dale, I can kind of expect him to try and make the changes necessary to avoid that in the future, but it looked like he was just trying to drop a ward there for his hunter, or just get like a little bit of vision, maybe rotate to the mid lane. Just so unfortunate that he would fall there. And Transonics now, he wants to fight, and this is exactly what we were mentioning earlier. He loves this aggression.
But Cameron does secure his own red for Starboys. On the right-hand side, another invade, prioritizing this blue buff over the speed, keeping Dr. Flick down in terms of that mana regen, but the speed's still available. There's the ultimate command of Daily Dale. Freeze on a Joey Donuts, and already he has the Mystic Rush away. One more hit's gonna do it. A good wall out of Wolves, and then Shards of Ice are gonna confirm it. Now Chaotic Purpose needs some help from that Defender of Olympus. Good juke coming out of him, and then turns it around on a flick. Covey's gonna get the kill. The Vulcan ultimate's gonna blow him up, though. Clow finds a return kill. Good rotation out of him. The Aegis saves him from that ice carpet, but again, it's Astral Authority being the aggressors in the enemy jungle.
Star Wars are able to defend their speed buff, though, and one more time, you see Astral Authority nearly getting away with just that last bit of health, and they almost had the outplay clean. That was an excellent play, again, by Brochacho, ulting immediately onto Chaotic once he recognized that he was in danger from the Sun Wukong, because that damage mitigation definitely helped save his life there.
Has been a part of all 6 kills so far, has Brochacho, 0, 0, and 6. The ideal support scoreline, and basically the ideal jungler scoreline to complement that, 3, 1, and 3 for Chaotic Purpose. As I mentioned, this 3v3 core of Astral Authority of Covey, Chaotic Purpose, and El Brochacho really stick together pretty heavily in these games.
Had it not been for Cloud there, though, I think that Starboys would have almost certainly lost that speed buff and potentially even seen another kill get dropped.
Cloud definitely making a big impact early in his Starboys career. Hasn't been a part of the team for very long, but gets that big kill, kind of keeps Astral Authority off the speed, as you mentioned, and likely that the Gold Fury call at least partially attributable to Clow, known for his Clow calls that can work very, very well or not so well, as mid harpies on the right side split down the middle for Starboys and Astral Authority.
And right now, Astral just trying to ensure that they secure those fire elementals, the last bout of them before that Portal Demon is going to be spawning.
And the Portal Demon will be a big focus here because, as you mentioned, Vulcan can shred these objectives pretty easily with that turret, can use it to tank it up as well. With how willing Starboys are to go for that Gold Fury, wouldn't be surprised to see the same for the Portal Demon. Cameron is in a load of trouble on this left-hand side. Cloud trying to get to him. Good pathing coming out of Cameron. There's the Earthshaker over the top, but not going to find a home this time. Brochacho was the only one in the area code. Still couldn't quite hit him. Brochacho keeping a couple busy on the back as the rest of Astral Authorities trying to play aggressive on the top side. Transonics gets sundered by Joey Donuts, jukes out the meatball coming out of Clow, and here comes the Desert Fury. Big damage onto Transonics, finally gets that jump ready to go, but Brochacho is already very low. 1 or 2 more hits should do it. Chaotic Purpose tries to body block, but Clow is going to toss that Magma Bomb up and over the jungler and find the kill onto Brochacho.
That counter rotation was absolutely beautiful by Starboys. Cameron was in such an awful position, but now Wolves coming on the backside.
Freeze for Wolves. Cameron just able to jump away from that Shards of Ice. The tier 1 tower still stands. Great ricochet coming out of Transonics. Is going to find Joey Donuts. Wolves eats a good amount of damage from Clow and his turret, but a great rotation from Wolves. You were talking about how good the counter rotation from Starboys was. How about that one from Wolves? Teleports in the back and gets a 3-man freeze.
Everybody was too busy looking forward because they had their eyes entirely focused on Transonics and the other members of Astral, considering that they were all fairly low, 50% or less. But now this opportunity is there for Astral. They want this Gold Fury. I'm not necessarily certain that they have the damage to commit to this because of their lack of burst. And there's the Vulcan ultimate.
Cloud going to use the ult to make sure that Astral Authority get off that Gold Fury. Misspoke earlier. Wolves' teleport is on cooldown, just walked all the way from the solo lane. That's why it took him a little bit of time to get over there, but either way makes his rotation fruitful. I've got no problem there with Cloud using that ultimate to make sure that Astral Authority isn't going to stay on that objective.
It's a strong deterrence factor, and it's the safe decision because you can tell that Astral Authority were low enough to where they didn't want to try and commit if there was going to be a possibility of a fight, but they just wanted to look for it if they could get away with it. And Cameron, he's looking for the boxing match. There's a creep wave there, though, for Transonics, and I'm not certain that it's a trade that Trans wants to take up since he already took the poke from the 2, but it works out in the long run.
Flick and Covey both very low. Joey Donuts very low as well, but he's on the right-hand side farming up that blue buff as Flick backs to base. No teleport for him. Around the Gold Fury, it is going to be the Oracle. It's not the actual Big Brother objective. Before walking all the way over to that left-hand side, Wolves got that solo tier 1 tower as well, so not only does he make his rotation fruitful in terms of the damage output and what he brings, but also gets the tower before he starts to rotate.
Trad's getting a little cheeky now with Cameron. Those couple of in-hands that he just tossed at Cameron was solely because he knew that he just used his impel to clear the wave. That's an excellent time for a hunter to look for a boxing opportunity against an Honor when he knows that big damage cooldown is up.
Transonics looking for the fight already. Can't quite find the stun in the Suns. Cameron's going to be able to get out of danger, but that was mostly there to clear the wave more than anything else.
Clear the wave, and if he had the possibility to take the beats, then that would have been an excellent cooldown as well.
Flick going into 4 or 3 members of my guys, and that forces Daily Dale's ultimate. There was no follow-up there. I don't know if I like that call from Flick, but I do like this Gold Fury call coming out of Starboys already very low. Wolves trying to get in there and seal it away, but Starboys is the one that get the Gold Fury. Wolves' wall not quite fast enough, nor is the freeze. Joey Donuts on the retreat. He's with that speed buff is fast enough to get away from the charging Astral Authority. Starboys get another objective in their favor, their second Gold Fury of the game.
I think we know why Flick dashed into 3 people now. He's trying to keep everybody on Astral Authority distracted from the fact that his team is trying to secure the Gold Fury. But now with everybody backing on the side of Starboys, this does open up the T1 tower. So Astral just want to secure this, maybe look for a pick, but most importantly get out.
Stun onto Wolves, frozen and shredded. Chaotic Purpose with his 4th 4-1-4 for the jungler. And again, Flick that time just not in the right spot.
And the response from Astral to immediately siege that T1 tower, it kind of compensates for that second Gold Fury loss that they just suffered, as well as with Dr. Flick being dead still for a little bit longer. This does open up a possibility for my guys to look for the Portal Demon.
Flick does have his teleport whenever he respawns, so we'll be able to get back to the fight fairly quickly, not lose out on too much farm. Gone for the Spirit's Robe, which I really like in this matchup. You're going to be eating a lot of CC and need that protection right afterwards, but it's probably going to need some health pretty soon in order to stay alive through that, even through that Spirit's Robe passive.
And Spears, I think, is always a strong pickup. At this early stage, you could tell that he's definitely just trying to prioritize peeling for his teammates more than anything else. He wants to just stand in the front line to permit Clow especially to get off as much damage as possible in the back with that Vulcan. But I feel as though if Astral Authority just try and ignore him a little bit, he's not going to be outputting that much damage.
Sunder onto Wolves, but he turns it around and Sunder's Joey Donuts right back. Wolves is surrounded though, and he's gonna fall. Joey does get credit there for that kill. Just a little bit overextended on that immobile Guardian out of the solo lane.
Wolves bit off a little bit more than he could chew. I think he was kind of expecting his team to be there faster, but...
Uh-oh, Covey caught in the wrong spot, already used the 2. He has to use the Aegis now to immune some of that Desert's Fury damage. Magma Bomb's gonna hit from Clow, but now Covey is actually backpedaling instead of just running away. Great taunt coming out of Brochacho, prevents the follow-up of Cameron's knockup. But Covey, Chaotic Purpose, and Brochacho now all on the run. Covey continued to backpedal the whole way back, and Joey Donuts makes him pay.
And that was an excellent chase by Cameron, but Transonics, he's just been in this T2. He's been going at it for so long, and he gets it without a problem, and Clow has too low of mana to try and even look for the fight after.
Surprised that Transonics doesn't take that 1v1 in that scenario there, Taco. I mean, Clow, as you mentioned, very low on mana, was all alone. You could, the rest of Astral Authority knew where all of Starboys was. Trans rarely letting someone go in that sort of instance, but Portal Demon goes Starboy's way. Their objective control of this game has been very, very solid, and just capitalizing off the mistakes of Astral Authority has gone very well for them. Down still pretty significantly in terms of XP, but that gold lead not really there. Good patience coming out of Brochacho. Waits on that taunt. Good Aegis though out of Joey Donuts. Keeps off that Nemesis all damage, but it doesn't matter because the protection shred still applies. Wolves gets revenge for that earlier kill.
And that's the interesting part too, that Joey Donut, he's got the Sunder and he's got an Aegis. He has to be really fast with his reflexes to not get caught out, because without beads available against an Amir and Athena, he's probably going to be a high priority target.
Cameron trying to get away from Covey. Plenty of mobility on her now that he has the Fatalis, but tough to get away from Chonga regardless. Misses the Impale. That's probably going to do it here. Waxing Moon, the Moonlit Waltz, it's all coming out. Cameron going to go up and down just to try and make a play, but Transonics is going to get that kill onto his enemy Hunter.
Transonics with the solo kill, as most people would probably like to say. That was the classic Hunter pickup kill right there. But I'd say that's a pretty unfortunate loss for Starboys now that their Hunter is dead.
Double taunt out of Brochacho in the mid lane. Excuse me, only one, but good wall coming out of Wolves. Separates Daily Dale from the rest of the team. Cloud's ultimate not too impactful in that mid lane, and now the teleport comes through from Flick. Nice double root out of Daily Dale, but he puts himself in the wrong spot, and Chaotic Purpose makes him pay once more. 5-1 and 6 now for the jungler. Up and down, Joey Donuts with that Mystic Rush. The sun's coming down from Transonics, but not in the right spot. Joey's caught between a wall and a hard place, and Brochacho's going to be the one to get credit. First kill of the game for the support player for Astral Authority. Now doubling Starboys in kills, 12-6.
And that just started off with a beautifully timed shell from Brochacho. It completely negated out what damage could have been placed from Cloud's ultimate onto Wolves. And then they just one by one picked members of Starboys off. Daily Dale pushed a little bit too far forward, freeze into death. And that's pretty much all that happens or needs to happen for Astral Authority to find the favorable ends of these team fights.
Starboys are very clearly that team that has a lot of potential and some talented players, but still has to work out some of the intricacies of the competitive level play. I mean, their objective control has been pretty good, their early game has been pretty good, but as you mentioned, they've started to kind of go one by one into these engagements. They're getting punished heavily for it. Now Daily Dale the first one in to try and defend this Gold Fury. Kobe's still on it, and my guys get the Gold Fury despite the Desert's Fury from Cameron. That's my guys' first Gold Fury of the game. Very close there, but my guy's able to secure it.
I thought that Cameron was going to steal it for a moment there. It looked like the timing was on point, but Brochacho, he's going in now. He's pulling it taunt onto Cloud, and Cloud's popping the Volcano already.
Brochacho in trouble, trying to get out with that Defender of Olympus. Will do so, but doesn't go too far with it. Trans finds Cameron on the top, but Brochacho's going to fall to Joey Donuts on the back. Flick in trouble, trying to run for his life. Gets sliced and diced by Chaotic Purpose. Joey Donuts trying to finish off Covey, but that slippery little mage just a little bit too quick for Joey Donuts to find. Another kill for KP in the jungle. Transonics jumping in the 1v2, trying to find Clow. Will force the Aegis there, but no more kills for the time being until Wolves thought about going in. But a good meatball from Clow. Trans was looking for the highlight reel there.
The style ricochet. If that triple bounce had connected, it might have been enough to kill Clow. I'm not 100% convinced, but at least Trans got the style points for it.
The Trans is always looking for the style points. Definitely a grudge match for Clow against Wolves and Transonics in this matchup. His former teammates probably not particularly pleased that they left for what they felt like were greener pastures, and with how well the spring split went for Astral Authority, can't really argue with that decision. But I mean, when you team with a couple of guys for basically an entire season, all of season 3, Clow spent with Wolves and Transonics for the most part, then you know, you always want to beat him whenever you face him later on down the line.
Oh, of course, 100%. I think that goes for any former teammates in that kind of scenario, but it seems as though Astral Authority getting better end of this, and again, Dr. Flick forced to use his ultimate just defensively to escape.
No real follow-up there from Chaotic Purpose outside of the ultimate. Was still pretty far away, but at the end of the day, you get Dr. Flick's ultimate, and that's a win because that Nemesis ultimate not on too long of a cooldown. Plus, that gives Astral Authority the confidence to start this up. Great waiting on that taunt out of Brochacho. Make sure that that CC doesn't overlap. Transonics gets credit, his 4th on the game. Also gets that Bloodforge shield, a 4th item Bloodforge, Taco, something we don't usually see. We'll talk about it in a moment as the fight keeps on going. Astral Authority keeps on going. There's the jump in from Transonics. He's looking for the former teammate, but Kovi's focused on the front line. Kovi finds Joey Donuts. Transonics still trying to find Clow in that jungle as Flick Ox forms away. The rest of Astral Authority retreat towards the Fire Giant once more.
And this is where Astral Authority CC is starting to become a real problem for Starboys. I mean, it's actually been an issue for the members of Starboys, but even more so now because Wolves is just walking up to them and pressing his freeze every single time. That's all he wants to do, just walk up, look for the freeze, and if anything, he's expending not only actives, but the engagement actually onto Dr. Flick. He's trying to go in. The Fire Giant's already dead, however, and it looks as though Flick's in a lot of danger. He doesn't have his ultimate available.
Transonics already used his jump. He's going to have to use the Aegis now as Flick tries to retreat to the right. Kovi is trying to chase him down. One more auto is going to do it. Another kill goes the way of Astral Authority's mid laner. They already got that Fire Giant. Portal Demon is next on the checklist. Brochacho going to use his ultimate just for safe measure. But now Astral Authority gets to back spend all the gold that they've earned for themselves and try and utilize this Fire Giant buff.
And what was a relatively close game is now starting to snowball completely in favor of Astral Authority. And with this team being so experienced, I don't really see them dropping this lead.
I mean, look at all the deaths that everyone on Starboys has right now. I mean, 18 kills in 22 minutes. The only reason the gold lead isn't bigger is because Astral Authority's kind of been more focused on the kills, and the objective at this stage, though, with the Fire Giant buff around their waist, I'm assuming that's likely to change. Transonics non-grouping with the rest of the team, though, during this Fire Giant siege, expecting that Starboys isn't going to be trying to defend any of these tower pushes, and so just getting some solo farm while he can.
It's also interesting that you bring up looking at the deaths on Starboys because it's really just the tanky members who have all of the deaths, and that is just excellent target priority by Astral Authority. And normally you would never want to go for the tanks, but when you have a Nemesis on your team, that's all you really want to be looking at. You eliminate that frontline aspect, and there's really not much else that Cameron and Cloud can do if they don't have somebody to peel for them.
Very true. I mean, Cloud's positioning has actually been very solid so far this game, but when your front line is just immediately dead, there's not a whole lot you can do as a mage. Cloud tied with the other damage dealer, Cameron, in terms of highest level on their team, but still not very close to their counterparts on the other side. Actually, Kovi only level 16 as well, so Cloud keeping pace in terms of that level experience difference in the mid lane.
Just not enough grouping from Starboys early on. They grouped excellently to call the early objectives to pull the Gold Fury twice and sneak that away from Astral, but unfortunately for them, they just didn't maintain that throughout the mid to late game stages, and now because of it, they're starting to suffer pretty heavily.
Now it's Starboys trying to do the Gold Fury. Look at where everyone in Astral Authority is, but Brochacho's on the way. Double freeze, Defender of Olympus comes crashing down. Dale in a lot of trouble, taunted back in. Transonic stomps him down. Starboys do get that Gold Fury. I believe that was Joey Donuts in there who secured it for his team, but he's going to lose his life for a double kill for Transonics. The Hunter notches a 20th in total for Astral Authority. He's going to head back to base while the rest of AA starts to siege down this Phoenix.
Transonics really wanted to finish that Fatalis. He really wanted to finish that Fatalis just so he could pressure even harder against Starboys.
That's classic Transonics. Has always loved Fatalis even before it was considered a meta item for the Hunters. But without Trans, this Phoenix Siege is going to become a little bit more difficult for Astral Authority. Still with the 4v3, they've got enough pressure to guarantee it for themselves. Mid Phoenix falls, and Starboys now only have the side Phoenixes remaining in terms of defending their base.
And Joey Donut seems to be the main casualty this go round simply because of the fact that he opted for that Aegis. And the mindset behind it is great because you do have the immunity already with Robin's kit. But unfortunately, the reflex timing that you need, or the fact that Astral Authority are just simply waiting out his Aegis, or they just have enough consistent damage. It's not necessarily burst damage, but it's consistent damage. So they can just continue to remain on somebody until they're dead, like we just saw happen to Dr. Flick. Wow.
I blinked and Flick was gone. I didn't even know he was there in the first place, to be honest with you. His 5th death out of the soul lane, and again, it just comes off that Athena taunt into the Nemesis ult. I was asking for a little bit more burst, but clearly Astral Authority's proving me wrong. They've got plenty of burst to deal with this composition from Starboys. Brood onto Covey on the right-hand side. Cameron immediately gets jumped all over. The Suns are going to guarantee it. Unstoppable Transonic 7 in a row. He's going to have to use his Aegis to retreat outside the Titan room, but Astral Authority have the chance to just knock down this Titan. A little bit more worried about the kills because they don't have any minions to tank up that Titan for the time being. Wolves in a bit of danger, but a good wall locks him off from Cloud's damage and locks Joey Donut off from the rest of his team's help. Joey Donut's gonna fall. Now the Titan Siege begins. The Ox Form from Flick, not enough to disrupt Covey for the time being. Little bit of damage onto the Titan, but again, reset very, very quickly. Flick gets up into the somersault Cloud.
And Wolves going for the ultimate on Emir just in case. Was a little bit concerned that Flick would try to land on top of him and look for the damage. So if Flick had opted to do so, he would have certainly died. Maybe taking Wolves with him, but I don't think that that's the scenario. You don't want a 1v1 trade in a Titan defense.
So Starboys do defend their Titan. 26.5 minutes in. Down 23-7 in kills. Astral Authority up significantly in XP and gold. Now they're waiting for the Portal Demon, not for the Fire Giant, though it has respawned. Bit of a safer call here coming out of Astral Authority.
Astral just want to secure the Portal Demon, that way they can back and come in for the Fire Giant full health to look for the immediate siege. They're probably going to try and knock down that very last Phoenix and push up the waves in both middle and right, because if they push up the mid and right lane waves with their fire creeps, then Starboys are going to have to keep that in the back of their minds if they look to try and defend that last Phoenix they have remaining. And I don't see them holding out for much longer against 2 lanes of fire creeps and a Fire Giant Astral Authority.
The second Fire Giant of the game goes Astral Authority's way. And as I was mentioning before, I mean, Klaus still with 0 deaths. Look at his player damage. He's up 17,000 on the next highest member. As Wolves gives us his own version of fireworks. On the right-hand side, though, those are pretty cold for fireworks, I suppose. Dash taunt in. Now Clow is the focus. He has the purification beads though, so he's gonna retreat.
He might have the beads, but Astral Authority have plenty more opportunities when it comes to CC.
And absolutely, I mean that's the whole point of this draft, right? Is just CC into CC. Make sure that even these frontliners aren't tanky enough. Freeze misses there from Wolves, and that allows Flick to get up into the Somersault Cloud even with that Nemesis ultimate. Lands down on a Transonics, but a huge Waxing Moon coming in. A Covey hits 4. Clow is standing there for 4 seconds. Now Wolves hits a 3-man stun. Another multi-kill coming out of Astral Authority. And even though this game was written a while ago, that was a big exclamation point at the final chapter. Astral Authority gonna find the deicide almost. Cameron the only one who's still standing, but I don't know if he's gonna stand long enough. He will not. There it is, deicide 28-7, and Astral Authority take it to Starboys.
That was absolutely rough for Starboys. Just complete. Not only was the Waxing Moon beautiful and perfect, but on top of that, Transonics drops his ultimate and the Emir wall. The ultimate, there's no escape.
And that's what it is with Astral Authority, right? You'll see Wolves ult the right lane just because he knows he can, and you know they're gonna troll you a little bit. Transonics backs after winning a team fight instead of sieging with his team. But then they do things like that, where it's just perfect execution, and that's when Brochacho was saying, all right, guys, it's time to play it serious. We're about to wax these guys, and Covey does literally that.
That was, like I said, shout-outs to Covey in that last little engagement that they had, because nobody on Starboy stood a single chance. As soon as that Wax Moon came through and you just saw the CC log, you're just like, it's over. And then Wolves, he had the 3-man freeze as well, and because they had to huddle into that perfect little corner, and then Wolves is just like, nah.
Hiding, but you can't hide from Wolves. He's always going to chase you down. Ready to go.